Okay, so let's start. I'm going to start off by doing a review of yesterday and just look back at what we did yesterday. So yesterday we looked at Unit 4 and we looked at all the different learning theories and how is it that we teach our students learning theories, and then we spoke about how learning theories describe how learners absorb, process, and retain knowledge. And we had a quick think about what experiences that you remember when you were in your education, where you were a student or a learner. And then we also looked at how you teach and what your experiences are when you teach at the moment. And then we brought the whole, we linked the two and realized that in many cases we teach the way that we like to learn. So what came out was that some of you liked group work, and then you also like to do that with your students, and you also love the to get an opportunity to practice. When you were a student, you like to practice and apply what you've learned, and that is also kind of what you like to see with your students. You like that opportunity to see, oh, okay, the students are understanding the work or the new knowledge and skills that I taught them. That for me, that aha moment when I was a maths teacher and I'd give difficult problems for the students or for the learners to solve. I love that moment when they come back and say, teacher, we got the answer and this is how we got it. And for me, it was the same as well. If I sat with a maths problem for hours and suddenly I get that problem, or I get the right answer, and then it would be so rewarding for me. So then we looked at a few of the learning theories. We looked at 4 of them. Behaviorism was all about reward and reinforcing and getting students to kind of conditioning the students to show a specific behavior in our courses. And we normally would test them on that. And then cognitivism, I said it's all about the brain, working around previous knowledge that the students have and learning new knowledge. And we spoke about Piaget and assimilations and accommodations to create new schemas in the brain. We spoke about, and we just quickly looked at Bloom's taxonomy and all the higher order thinking skills that we move towards when we teach our students. And then we spoke about constructivism with Vygotsky, which is more knowledgeable than others, and scaffolding. And then we spoke about social constructivism. So you kind of give the students a problem to solve as a group, and then they learn from each other, and they teach each other and kind of do research together in order to find the right answer for the problem. So it's very social, and that's where social constructivism comes from. Then something that kind of links up with that is connectivism, where we are in this age where students want to connect with others. They use the internet to connect socially. They use the internet to connect when they learn. They can learn directly from someone which is about a country, which is in another country. So if they want to learn more about India, they can link with someone there and kind of learn from that person and that culture firsthand. And this is something that we need to tap into as educators. It requires development of critical thinking skills and, of course, information and media literacy, because there are so much out there on specific topics that we need to focus our students' thought and our students' learning when we do implement the connectivism learning theory. Okay. Then what we quickly spoke about yesterday, and you also had an activity to do yesterday around this, was Ganye's 9 events of instruction. And I want to ask you, have any of you had any experience with Ganye before? And what did you think about it? Anyone that'd like to share? You can just switch on your mic and start talking. We're such a small group, you don't have to raise your hand. Who can I put on the spot? Ife?
How did I know that was coming?
I always put you on the spot. I love it.
I actually haven't had any experience with Ganye, or is maybe not in a formal way, as in following the steps. But I think some of the steps are things that I do try to include in my teaching. So I haven't come across them in this theory form, but they are things that I do. So,
okay, yeah.
For instance, today was my first lecture for the semester. So the gain attention part, what I did was like a feedback session on last semester. So just try to ask them questions about what we did last semester and their feelings about the model last semester. It's just so we could have like a conversation before we actually went into the details of this semester.
Tell me, how did it go? I mean, did they actually engage a little bit?
Yes, there was actually a lot of engagement. So before I actually started about the semester, I tried asking them about how research went, if they tried any new activity, what did they do, and things like that. So we had started that chat before I moved on to getting feedback. So they were already in that mood of talking and explaining. So it actually went well. So generally what I do is I tell them to type in the chat if they don't want to speak up. And there's always like 1 or 2 people that will speak using the mic, and then the rest of them will just type in the chat. So that's the way I get them to engage. And there was engagement.
That's wonderful. And you know what you actually also covered number 3, which is linking up to prior knowledge or prior learning. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for putting me on the spot.
Let me put someone else on the spot. Vuyo, have you ever heard about Ganye before yesterday?
No, I haven't heard about it, but I think some of the steps I have used. So maybe I think number 8, when you assess the knowledge in perhaps in tests or exams. And I think I will use IFE's tactic when I start my other module, the second semester, just to get them to engage and feel relaxed. Yes.
Okay. And I agree with you, Vuyo. This is really something the majority of these 9 events of instruction are things that you already do. And I think some of them might just be, you might already give the students feedback, if I look at number 7, but maybe you didn't realize how important it is to give students feedback. And we already start a class off by maybe doing an icebreaker, or maybe doing a session where you talk to them about the recess and so on. But we don't realize it's important to do that. Get your students' attention, focus their attention, because our students, talking about cognitivism, there's a massive cognitive overload happening in students' lives at the moment, and they have so many things on their mind, and so many balls that they have to keep in the air, socially and academically and personally, that it's good to focus their attention and get them there in that space for that moment, that you want to keep them busy. Okay. All right, thank you. Jaco and Lisa, I promise you I'll put you on the spot just now. I'll give you a chance. Okay, so something that I wanted you to share just a little bit about is your experience with the infographic activity. So this is examples of few previous people that attended the DTX training, what their infographics looked like. So some experience, can any of you share a little bit about that activity, what your experiences were? Lisa, let me put you on the spot. Lisa, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. I haven't really, I was confused with the activity, so I haven't attempted it.
Okay.
So I can't really say sorry. I just wrote down the reflection. Do I?
When you look at these infographics, does it make a little bit more sense, or do you want us to maybe talk about it? Do you have specific questions?
Sorry. Yeah, we can talk about it a little. But I do think, because I see on like constructivism, like there's like with constructivism, it's when. Sorry?
Now we lost you a little bit there.
Oh, I'm so sorry. My internet is not that good. I'm on campus. I'm saying I do see like I do see on constructivism, like there's a wall that is built today. So, and with constructivism, it's whereby you students are working together, like on a certain task or something like that. And with behaviorism, which focuses on like reinforcement, like positive reinforcement or punishment. So I do see the time there. Maybe if you
Okay, so
yeah. I think I will get an idea. I must just focus my mind and attempt it.
Okay, so Lisa, so the idea I think with the infographic is either to take one of the learning theories, one that resides with you, and sum it up in the way that you see it. How do you picture it playing off? You can even include an activity. Jaco, he can share just now what what he's been thinking about looking at a specific activity and then linking it to a theory. Or you can take a learning theory and then explain a little bit about the learning theory and then maybe say how you can do that in your class. So
okay,
like
noted.
yeah, but don't worry about it too much. I'm sure you'll come up with something great.
Definitely, thank you.
Okay, thanks, Lisa. Jaco, is there anything you want to share around this activity?
Good morning. No, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, I shared my attempt with you, and I kind of also missed the pot, or missed the spot, if you want to call it that. But yeah, I'm going to put more effort into it. Look, if I just think back historically, how I was exposed to learning and what made me learn, and I mean, I'm going to take a simple example, like when your father taught you how to ride a bicycle. You know, he took your attention by taking you shopping and buying a bicycle, and then he explained to you that you need to go and put shoes on because your feet can get caught into the gears of the sprockets and the chains and whatever, and You know, we're gonna start practicing on grass. So there was some theory that was relayed to you, and then if you were lucky, your dad would have gotten onto the bicycle and showed you how to ride the bicycle.
Yes.
And then he would take you and he would hold the seat and he would slowly let you press the pedals. You know, and I think if we look at all of this, everything kind of links up. You know,
Yes.
and in the beginning I said that, you know, depending on your goal, on your outcome, you know, is it and again I'm going to use the example of my knot. Do I want to teach somebody how to tie a knot, or do I want to teach him how to do open heart surgery? You know, it doesn't really matter what your outcome is, but I mean your way, your steps of taking to get that student to learn, to take in. You know, I sometimes think it's just changing his way of thinking about things. I mean, if you ask a kid about blood, he will tell you that it is red and it comes out when there's a hole in my skin. But I mean, if you ask a fourth-year medical student about blood, you know, he's got a very different understanding. His mindset has been altered by everything that we've put into him about pressures and about different components and about the transportation of oxygen to get nutrition to cells. You know, so we change the mindset of a student, and your steps, the road that you have to walk with that student to get him to change his mind about how he thinks about blood, you know, can be a simple thing and it can be a very, very involved thing. I mean, I've never heard of, you know, I can't even, what is it, Gagne, or what is this thing?
Ganye.
Ganye, Gagne, ek is Afrikaans, jong. You must excuse my British, sometimes not so well. Excuse me. But even though I've never heard of it, I mean, we gain attention of the students and you inform students of the objective and simulate, recall, or prior learning and present the content and provide learning guidance, elicit performance practice and provide feedback. You know, it's, even though you've never heard of it, it's things that we do automatically. We've just labeled it.
Yes, and you just label it. That's basically it. And I think if you talk about your example with teaching a first-year student about blood, or even a child, and maybe a fourth-year medical student, your pedagogical approach, so the way that you teach, you convey the knowledge to these students will be different. You might with your undergrad student or your first year student, it will be much more about teaching them the basic knowledge about blood and getting them to behave in a certain way and you know, recall certain knowledge in order to learn about it. So will be more, your approach will be more behavioristic, where just like teaching someone to ride a bike, it's more, this is how you do it and this is what the outcome must be. You must be able to show me you can do it that specific way. Where with your fourth years, your pedagogical approach, the way you teach them about blood might be different. It might be more a constructivist way or a connectivist way, where you give them a chance to go and talk to other students about it, because now the basic knowledge is already there. Now they have to think further, talk about it, learn from each other, etc. So yeah, no, I agree with what you're saying. Thank you for that. All right.
It is my pleasure.
So that is what we did yesterday. So I want us to jump into quickly. Let me now just open the other PowerPoint. Just want to get to the right one now. Today we're going to talk about Unit 5, which is all about course structure. And this is something that's very close to my heart, because course quality and online course quality is very important for me. Let me quickly share my screen. Okay, can everyone see my screen? The screen that says Unit 5.
Yes, I can.
Good, thank you.
Yes.
Okay, so today we're going to talk about online course structure. And the outcomes for our session is understand the importance of logical course structure and course templates, designing a learning path, and then developing a course development toolkit. All right, so planning and preparing for an online course. Let me just switch off my webcam here. So what I'd like to hear from you is when you know that, okay, for next semester I'm going to teach this subject, maybe financial planning to second years or third years. What do you do? Where do you start? How do you plan and prepare for the course? So I'm going to now ask our lecturers in the room. Lisa, you'll be able to learn a lot from them now.
Yes, will do.
Yaku, Ife, Vuya, how do you approach starting the planning for a course? Do you plan at all, or do you walk into your first class and say, okay, where are we now? Yes,
I think I'll
Ife.
go.
Okay.
So generally, I will start with the model guide. So I have to prepare that and make sure I have the details of what's going to happen the entire semester there, the guidelines, the parts about completing the assessment and what makes up the final year, the final marks for the entire semester, how many assignments need to be done,
Yes.
things about communication, just make sure the important information is in the model guide. And then I move on to planning getting the schedules ready. So I would create a schedule with what's supposed to be done each week, and also create an assignment schedule so they know what assignments they need to submit each week. And then once I have my schedules ready, then I start planning the content of the semester. So for week 1, I will start preparing the slides and the assignments for that week. And I move on that way. And then with the online classes now, what has happened is after creating the slides, I now have to create a video for each and every one of those slides. So that's basically the way I go about with planning my lectures.
And tell me, if do you plan as you go, or do you plan do you kind of map out the whole course, the whole semester, before you start building the presentations and all of the stuff?
I map out the entire semester, so I know what exactly we're supposed to do for the entire semester before I start building the presentations.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much. So that is exactly what we're going to look at today and tomorrow and the day thereafter. We're going to look at planning your courses, planning the structure of your courses. So today we'll first look at so it's an online course. So we look at the structure of the course on the LMS and how it's laid out for the students, etc. And then we'll also talk a little bit about constructive alignment and where to start. Do you start with your assessments? Do you plan your assessments first, or do you first look at your module outcomes, for example? So those are all things that we'll talk about today. And I like the fact that if you plan out the whole semester, you plan out the whole course before you even start, because that is extremely important. And the more we talk over the next few days, the more you'll see why this is important. Okay, so when we talk about online course structure, understand the importance of logical course structure and course templates. So it's very important to have logic behind how you structure your course, and it's it doesn't just bring consistency to the students, but it also brings self-confidence to the students, especially for online students. Because if you ask your students to move through your course, but your course is set up in such a way that they can't find things, they don't know where Unit 1 starts and where it ends. They don't know what exactly do you expect from them. That then it's very difficult for them to have confidence in whether they are doing the right thing and whether they've done everything they need to in order to pass a specific unit or prepare themselves for an assessment. So online courses need to be structured in a way that conforms with the following three critical aspects. So the aspects are ease of use, and you will see when we talk about course evaluation and course evaluation frameworks tomorrow, it's very important to make sure that it's easy for the students to use your course and navigate through your course. It has to be intuitive navigation. So if you think about the course the course site for this specific week, it's structured in a certain way. So you will always kind of get your unit there. You'll have day 1, for example, but the structure for day 2 and day 3, etc., will look the same. So it will be easy for you to go through it, and it will make logical sense for the user. So every time you will have what day 1 is about, what your activities are to prepare, what your asynchronous activities are, and then after day 1 you will get your presentation and you will get the recording of the session. And that there's logic behind the structure of that online course. So what I want to ask you is, have any of you ever done a MOOC, a massive open online course? And have you quit that course, and why? Have any of you done a MOOC before?
Yes, I have. Yes, I have quit.
Why did you quit?
I think it was more of timing on my part because I became too busy to actually be able to complete the task required. Because it was one of those courses where you had to do like really intense assignments, and I did not have the time to complete the assignments.
You completed. Okay. And did you know beforehand? Did you know, before you started the course or when you enrolled into the course, did you know it's going to have all that hours that you need to spend on it?
No, I didn't.
Okay. Vuyo, thank you, Ife. Vuyo, have you done a MOOC before or an online course?
No, I haven't done a MOOC course.
Have you done something like, these LinkedIn courses or Coursera or anything like that?
No, nothing of that sort yet.
Okay.
I think this is my first online course.
Okay, good. All right. So the reason, oh yes, Lisa.
I don't. Yes, I think it can be listed as a MOOC course. I've done like an English certificate
Yes.
online. So yes, and I made sure that I actually finish it because at the same time I was thinking the money that I've spent, I guess. And another thing, I was also thinking about, okay, it's gonna benefit me at the end of the day when I have the certificate. So there were like tasks that I have to do in that course. Read, and at the end of each chapter, there would be like an assessment that I would have to do. So yeah, I just planned and set my time. Maybe like for this week, I know that I will have to finish a chapter next week. Next week was like 2 months. So I guess it was just the dedication, wanting to get it done, that pushed me.
And tell me, Lisa, the structure of that course, did you know in advance exactly what will be expected of you in completing this course?
No, I didn't know that. I thought I was just going to read, and then have like one task. But I think they were like, okay, let's not think, there were like 11 chapters. And with each and every chapter, there was like a 10 and 11 chapter. There was like, I would have to do like a module plan, a lesson plan. Yes, I had to do like a lesson plan. And the last one I had to do what again, but it was like not a quiz like the rest of the chapters. So I didn't
Okay.
know that there was gonna be such work, so much work, but then at the end of the day, it's what I've signed up for.
Yes, yes, yes. Okay. Thank you for sharing, Lisa. I want to ask a follow-up for you, Ife. If you knew in advance exactly what is expected of you in that MOOC, do you think you might have finished it or done it later so that you can finish it?
Yes, I think I would have been able to plan to do it at a time where it was more convenient, maybe like not during the semester when it was research or something, or I would have been able to actually schedule specific time to actually sit and do what was required.
Okay, okay. All right, thank you for that. So if we think about course structure, the reason why we are spending time on it is because we don't want to our students to spend time on searching for things on our courses, because they have their notional hours that they need to spend on your course. And that notional hours must be spent on instructional material, learning activities, assessments. That is what we want our students to spend time on. We don't want them to spend time on trying to figure out where is everything on this course and how does this work, etc. So there are different ways of structuring your course. This is a course that was structured according to the subject area. So this is a general layout for a course that is according to subject area. This one is structured according to date or order of compilation. So you can structure your course according to weeks or units or modules. There are different ways. Then the next one is an example of structuring your course according to the type of activity. So in this course, it's according to all the lectures are together, all the readings are together, and all the assessments are together. So what I see the next step for this one might be is, for example, if you click on lectures, you'll find a folder for each of the units. Let's say unit 1 to 4, and all the lectures for those are in there. Then you've got a mixed structure. So this is almost what I spoke about now. So your lectures it's still in that format where you have your lectures together, your readings together, and your assessments, but then it's structured into each week. So for me personally, let me go back. This for me is a very nice order in doing it. So for example, if you have unit 1 or module 1 or chapter 1, everything that they need to do for that in order to reach the outcomes of that unit or that chapter is in there. So for example, if this course is a course that runs over 3 weeks, the students will have everything they need in week 1. So they'll have their lecture there, they'll have their readings there, they'll have their, let's say, for example, a discussion will already be in there for that specific week, and an assessment for that week. is packaged in that week. So they know that once they've finished with that week, they've done everything they needed to. They don't have to go and search for anything further. They can then move on to week 2. And this structure for me is also a nice structure because you can then do adaptive release. So once you have completed week 1, especially if it's a course that have a lot of activities that the students can start off with and complete, and as they complete, only after completing it or only after you've graded it, for example, week 2 opens. It really focuses the students' attention. So yeah, that's my preference, but everyone has their own preference. The point that I want to bring through is really that it's important to structure your course in some or other way. So if you structure your course, your online course, I'm thinking about the majority of you had to move your courses online very fast, and maybe had a little bit more chance to plan for it this year. How do you structure your course? So share with us how you structure your course and why you select that specific structure. Jaco? Can I put you on the spot?
You put me on the spot. Dangerous, but okay. If I understand the question correctly, you must bear in mind that what I do, my specialty is teaching people how to do rescue work.
Yes.
So when it comes to teaching a guy how to swim or climb a mountain or a rope or
Yes.
jump out of an aeroplane, there's only so much you can do online. I mean, I can, I've been doing this for a while now, so I've got a pretty good idea of what the outcomes are.
Yes.
Which is, I almost want to say 90% of physical activity. It's a very much of a practical kind of a thing.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously, most of the modules that I teach has got a bulk of theory in it as well. So
Yes.
there's obviously a huge section of the work that can be structured online, but it's never been done. We've been running with PowerPoint presentations and just the old school lecturing on a board with a piece of chalk, or no, not a piece of chalk anymore, but I mean with a liner. And if you've been doing it for 30 years, you kind of don't really have to have your book open next to you and read out of a book to write on the it kind of flows. So
How did you?
structure,
How did you do it? How did you do it? How did you present your course the past year?
In the past year, I didn't present any courses.
Okay. Okay.
I became a janitor in the past year. I open and close the building.
Yeah.
No, look, in the past year, when the COVID regulations lifted, we finished up a couple of courses that we started. I haven't had one of my advanced courses this year. We're actually preparing for it now. We just did the physical qualifying, and we're gonna start with our it's in Afrikaans we call it the oorlewingskursus.
Yes. Yeah. Survival course. Hello? Are you still there, Jaco?
You just disappeared.
There we go. Can the rest of you still hear me?
Yeah, I think I'm back.
Okay, there you go. You're back. Now your mic is muted. You're back.
Okay, technical difficulty. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I don't know what happened there. There was some kind of a glitch. I think my computer is being overloaded at the moment. So we did do. Okay, I see what the problem is. I've got bad network quality. The sound quality is bad. Hang on a second. Let me just see if I can connect to something else here.
Okay.
Sorry. I am connected to a very strong network. I don't know why it's doing this. Maybe it's bad weather or something. I never know.
Luckily,
Okay, so
it's better now.
Is it better now? Yeah, I
Yes.
think I've just been trying to do too many things at one time. I've got like 3 Word documents open and a couple of websites, and I think my computer is just saying, "Whoa, just give me a break here."
Yeah.
Okay, so what we've done is we did like RPC courses. So your normal rescue practitioner course that only it has 3 modules. So the one component is high angle rescue, which is climbing ropes, tying knots, building mechanical advantage systems, getting a patient from the bottom of a mountain up a mountain. Then we do a fire search and rescue training, which is obviously fire search and rescue. So it's teaching them about fires and how to extinguish fires and how to enter buildings and how to do search patterns and how to kind of stay alive while trying to get a patient out of a burning building. And then the third module is light motor vehicle rescue, which has got a bulk of theory with regards to new car technology, where you find batteries, where electric vehicles, silent vehicles, nowadays you stop at a stop street and your car switches off. So if you're standing with your car switched off and a truck comes and drives all over you and you're trapped in your car, is your vehicle off or is your vehicle armed to, like when you press the accelerator, will the vehicle activate again? There's so much new technology with vehicles that we do a bulk of theory work that is relatively current. And I say relatively current because, I mean, with all these advances in new car technology, you can never stay current because, I mean, you teach something today and tomorrow's Tesla decides that they're going to build a car that can drive itself. At the end of the day, I need to facilitate students to extricate trapped patients from these cars. And, the theory work can be done, but I mean, the bulk of the work is done in the scrapyard where I give them hydraulic power tools and the jaws of life, and I say, take the roof off, take the door off. So with muscle memory, although there is a theory knowledge there as well, my guys is more towards working with their hands, muscle memory. That's the thing that I teach most
And
of the time.
how do you assess them?
I give them a car and I say, cut it up.
Okay.
Or I put a simulation doll in an awkward place and I say, well, take ropes and go and fetch. Or
Yes.
I do a simulation where I say, this is your team. I go and we go to the fire department in Markham Township, and they've got a smoke room. So we literally make fire. I take a tie and I burn a tie inside the building. I put a simulation doll in there and I say, right, you need to extinguish a fire and you need to go in and go and search for patients. And there is 2 patients. When your time stops, when the patients are out and safe and you're all safe and the fire is extinguished.
Tell me, do they get study guides?
Yeah, we've got a learner guide. We do, obviously our course is structured in such a way that we have specific outcomes, critical crossfield outcomes. And so there is a learner guide that we issue to them before the time. And then they work according to, and in the learner guide, it also states, what the assessment policy is, the physical part of it, the theoretical part of it, the practical part, all of this is outlined comprehensively in a student handout that we give to them before the time.
Yeah.
In fact, they need to read through it and we assess some of them, or some of it is assessed prior to the course actually kicking off.
I think if I think about your course, I get very excited about how I can share with you ideas of how to put the majority of your course online.
I would love to see. I don't know if it's because I'm old and grey that I kick against this, but I mean, how do you teach a guy to swim online? Give me a pool, give me water, and I can teach you how to swim. It's
yes.
But still, because that's how we've been doing it.
Yeah, but as you talk through it, you have your outcomes. So you start off with your outcomes. You have your practical demo, the practical way that you're going to assess them. But you also have your theoretical theory that you want to assess. So whether it's a written exam or a multiple choice quiz or whatever, but you do have that part as well. And you have your lectures that you want to present that you need to present to them so that they can learn about it and learn background about it and learn theory about why they do certain things in certain ways. Yeah, it's fine, Lisa. Perfect. So I can see how, because there are simulations that they can play with online. I'm thinking about games now, to learn a lot of the skills, and that they will then practically show, and practice. And they can also make videos of where they swim, for example, or where they tie a knot. Or teach someone else to tie that specific knot, and someone takes a video of them, and then they share the video on the course for you online. So this is, yeah, so there are many opportunities for your course to be presented online. There will always be that practical part where that you have to stand next to them and show them how to do things, and or I mean, where they show you that they can do it. But a lot of your course you'll be able to present online as well. And I think, if I think about your course, to structure it according to subject, or maybe according to modules, or what, depending on what you call it. There's a lot of opportunity with your courses that are there for online presentation as well.
I hear you.
Yes. Practically,
and I agree with
yeah.
you that most of the theory could be maybe
Yeah.
covered online.
Yeah.
I also agree with you that if you have a couple of videos of somebody swimming or tying a knot or jumping or whatever, that in preparation for your practical assessment or for your practical
Yes.
interaction with the student, that can give him some background knowledge or some idea of what he's getting himself into.
Yeah.
But
And also that they can refer back to, and watch over and over again before they go and practically show you how to tie that knot. Yeah. Okay. But I promise you, Jaco, I can talk to you for hours
it would be
about that.
nice to actually have somebody that can. That would be unfair to the other people.
Yeah. All right, so I'll talk to you more about that, and I think about with your team as well. But then I think it's important to kind of look at different things when it comes to. Thank you, Yaku. When it comes to online course structure, so something that is also very important, and something that comes out in departments or in programs, is looking at the layout of the course, looking at colors that are used in the course, looking at banners, for example. So if students are studying education and they're in a specific department, a school of mathematics or whatever, it's always good to have the same look and feel for the courses in the LMS, and also have the same structure. So you almost kind of decide as a department, what will these courses look like? Because then the student, every time the student goes into a new module for this specific degree, then they see, oh, okay, I'm still busy with the same degree. They feel comfortable in that space because it all kind of looks the same. The colors are the same. Maybe the logo of the department is there. So that's a very that creates consistency throughout the program. Then course templates, that's also something that in a department, I remember when I worked at UFS as an instructional designer, each instructional designer had a specific faculty that we looked after. And I looked after the economic and management sciences faculty. And we had a specific template that the lecturers used on the LMS. So it was structured according to units. And that's how all of those are structured. And there's a specific area for the grades. There's a specific area for the assessments. I'll show you some examples tomorrow when we do course evaluation. But it really helps the students to then know exactly where to go and what is expected of them. So to determine a basic layout of your content and how we interact with the course, even if we talk about study guides, It's also important to have a specific template that your department uses or your faculty use for the layout of a study guide, because then you know all the information that's supposed to be in there is in there, and the same with your online course. Okay, so something that we do and that we sometimes help institutions with is to develop a course development toolkit. So there might be people that calls it something else, but when I talk about a course development toolkit, it's really about creating online courses let me read what it says here. Creating online courses requires instructors, instructional designers, and developers to create experiences that have context, clarity, and remain consistent throughout the learning process. So there are certain standards that we measure our courses against at institutions, and departments need to decide or faculties need to decide what will be the minimum requirements for a course that you present as a lecturer. We want to see the outcomes in your course, for example. We want, when it's lecture recordings, I remember at the Faculty of Law at UFS, every time the lecturers presented a course in class, or presented a face-to-face class session, they had to record it. They had to do an audio recording for that. And that was the rule for the faculty because they had e-learning students as well. So all these lecturers had a voice recorder, and they all knew that after my class, I would upload those audios. And that's also what was communicated to the students, and the students knew the audio recording will be online afterwards. The students also knew exactly what the layout of the courses will be. And the only way to do that is to decide as a department or decide as a faculty what are the minimum requirements for our courses. And I know many people cringe at the fact of standardizing things, and they don't like when we talk about templates. They don't like when we talk about certain standards, but you still can have you can still be creative within that space. You'll have your set parameters, you'll have your set minimum requirements for a course and what a course should look like, especially for online courses. But within that, you can be creative and you can be innovative with your tool use. But it's important to have set standards and guidelines. I know institutions have branding guidelines and PowerPoint templates, and people do kick against that. But I say, as long as you have your front page that looks the same and your back page, I mean your front slide and your last slide, whatever comes in between doesn't matter, or as long as the logo is there, etc. Then if we think about universal design for learning, that is something that you will look at a little bit this afternoon or tomorrow afternoon. The use of color, the use of fonts, naming convention. In the department, do you talk about weeks? Do you talk about units? Do you talk about modules? These are all really to help your students with their learning experience in your courses. It's not about telling people what to do and how to do it. It's just about supporting your students the best you can. And it also, the CDT enables organizations to develop a set of common technical and pedagogical online learning standards for virtual learning environments. Okay, so when we do develop a course development toolkit, the benefits for that, it helps with consistency. It helps with rapid content development. So for example, if we think about suddenly moving your courses online from you've planned out your whole semester to present your face-to-face classes with your LMS tools. And now suddenly you have to move everything online. So if that happens in future, if you have set standards and set ways of doing things in something like a course development toolkit, then it will be easy for someone to jump online quickly in circumstances. Even for people that are going to present courses online for the first time, they will almost have a blueprint for how they should do it. Then part of the course development toolkit is a course style guide, and that's what I spoke about earlier about the branding and the colors and the fonts that must be used, image sizes, video sizes, because now with this age of lecture recordings being shared with students, we have to be conscious of the fact that first of all, the concentration time span has really rapidly decreased. So students really, even if I just have to watch a video that's 5 minutes, I don't even want to watch it anymore because it feels to me it's too long. So also the size of videos have clear minimum standards of if you upload a video to the LMS, it has to be 50 meg, for example, or it has to be no longer than 10 minutes, for example, just to give a bit of guidance for people. And using images, kind of tell people, okay, this is a site, a free site where you can go and find good quality images, or maybe you have a graphic department, graphic design department at your institution that can share with you images that they got from sites like Shutterstock and so on. So these are very technical things that I'm talking about now, but this is to make sure that people feel comfortable in creating courses and know what is expected of them. Then, and they also don't get in trouble for using things, images and sources that they're not allowed to use. Then, when you just in a nutshell, when you do create a course development toolkit, tell the people, you know, what is the mode of delivery? Is it fully online? Is it blended? Or is it hybrid or whatever? Then in some instructional design guidelines, things like support that they have to offer the students, information of where can they get help with the LMS, for example, and so on. Then we spoke about the structure, how you're going to structure your course, the fonts or let me say, the look and feel of the course, and the color schemes. Are you going to use the institution's color schemes, the faculty, the department? I know especially in health science, there's so many different schools in health science that they all want, you know, they want to display their own logo inside the courses, for example. Or in EMS, there are certain ways. I know, I think it was in business, business psychology or industrial psychology. So they decided as a department, the theme that they're going to have in all of their courses are, I think it was a business type theme. So all the images and the avatars and so on that they used in their course were business people. And that's how it was in business management, apologies, that was the department. But so everything they do kind of already prepares the students for the world of work and corporate look. And I remember the students even had to come to class when they did presentations. They had to wear like business type clothing, those of them that wanted and could do it for their presentations, just to already prepare them for that world of work. So those are all decisions that needs to be made together when you do develop something like this. Okay, before we jump into designing a learning path, what do you think about course structures and kind of standardizing some of it, about all the things that I've spoken about now? What do you think about, how does it make you feel if you listen to all what I've been saying now? When last? Oh, Vuyo, I haven't heard too much about you today. From you today.
Um, I think that it's informative about what you're talking about, and it's a bit overwhelming when it comes to designing a course. Like, what do you do, what not do, what do you
Mm,
add?
mm.
But then for me, I haven't designed a course yet. I've just inherited a course, if I could say, because
Yes.
I've been lecturing with another lecturer. So they are the ones who has designed the course. So I just perhaps just add my lecture slides or just design the test. But I think for this semester, I think I'll for one module, I think I'll have to design a course. The course is.
Okay, okay, okay. Do you think, just remind me, your department, oh, it's business management, right? Financial planning that
Yes,
you, yes.
yes,
So if you think about all the courses that come from your department, I mean, first year, second year, third year, will it be beneficial for your students if the department standardizes some of the course, how you present it to the students?
yes. I think it would be beneficial because so that the students are able to easily access the Moodle site, the course site, so that they
Mm,
don't get confused. Yeah,
mm,
yes.
mm, mm. People even go as far as um, kind of introducing something like a specific tool on the LMS. So let's say you want your students to be able to do quizzes on the LMS. You kind of start to get them to practice quizzes a little bit in the LMS in the first year, for example, so that the second year lecturer can use quizzes with ease because they know that the students are used to it. So that's even how far you can go with something like this.
Okay,
Hmm.
understand.
Yeah, but Vuyo, what I want to also just tell you about late or tomorrow. So I'm talking about all of this and all of the standardization and thinking about course design and so on. But I have some checklists that I'm going to share with you later or tomorrow that kind of will help you with that. So you in that checklist it will see, okay, can your students see your learning outcomes? Yes, done. Can your students see the assessment for the semester, the whole plan? Yes, done. So that might help you a lot with designing your course for the new semester.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Okay. Okay, Yaku. All right. Thank you for telling us. If you can, maybe have change your connection or maybe go out of the room and come back in. Just let us know. But I'll continue recording the session as well. Okay, so this is something that we'll talk more about on Friday, but I want to touch on it a bit. Is about designing a learning path. Um, so when designing your course, it's very important to put yourself in your students' shoes throughout your whole course. So I'm thinking about about how you say that you plan out your whole course for the semester. So with the MOOC that you wanted to do, you didn't know before you started exactly what will be expected of you. But if you did, it might have gone different. So do the same for your students. If your students can see the plan for the semester, you know, the course will be divided into so many units. This will be the outcomes per unit. This will be your assessments for the units. This will be your instructional materials, which can either be videos or readings. And this will be your engagement opportunities or some, you know, learning activities like discussions. You'll have a discussion in each unit, or you'll have a quiz in each unit, standardizing something like that, or planning your structure. You can tweak it a little bit. Maybe there will be one of the units that have another type, an essay that they have to write or something, but share the whole plan with them. Share the bigger picture and an overview of the course with them. Just give me 1 second. Sorry, just had to quickly sort out our kids that has to be picked up. Okay, so share the bigger picture with your students and I'll show you a course tomorrow where I have a course map where you can see exactly what will happen in the course for the rest of the semester. So the students can also plan better and make sure that they stay on track. So that is important when you do the planning of your course, to create a learning path for the students and put yourself in their shoes and say, okay, how will they know what to do when? You kind of have to narrate the whole process for them and tell them at the beginning in a paragraph, just a short paragraph. When you do this course, when you do a unit, first move from your first watch the lecture, then the reading, and so on and so forth. And then also throughout that process, how will they be assessed? And make sure that the students can see the clear link between your outcomes and your assessments. Okay. So constructive alignment is exactly what I was explaining now. Aligning the outcomes with the assessments, that's the first step. So when you start planning your course, first look at what are the outcomes, and outcomes are the ones that are given to you, because those were the ones that were sent to SAQA to get accreditation for your course by the institution. So you take those module outcomes and then you scaffold them into smaller, more manageable chunks in your specific units. And then you plan, okay, but how will I actually measure? How will I evaluate or assess whether these students are able to do that? So if your outcome, for example, is they have to describe something or they have to explain something, then your assessment will be an opportunity for them to do that. So whether it's through an essay or a presentation that they do in a group or discussion forum, you won't assess them through a multiple choice quiz if they have to explain something. So make sure that your assessments measure your outcomes. Then you go back to the middle of your planning, and that is where you look at, okay, so this is what my students need to be able to do. What content do we need to cover to teach them that knowledge and that skill? What is the content or the theory that they need to learn? And then what activities am I going to do with the students so that they can practice some of these skills? Are they going to participate in a discussion? Are they going to do content curation? Are they going to find videos out there about people swimming or tying the knot? Or are they going to find entrepreneurs out there? I think, who was the entrepreneur? I think it was Sia, is the teach entrepreneurship. So how will the students, what what instructional materials will I do? Will I give the students in order to get them prepared for the assessments? It sounds, we're not teaching to assess, but how does everything align together? Okay, so that is constructive alignment. You first think about the outcomes, then think about how will they be assessed. Then you source the relevant resources that will support learning that needs to take place, and that is the stage where that Ife that you also described, where you create those presentations, you create those assessments, you create all those artifacts that is needed for this course to happen. Then you design your activities that will scaffold the learning, and then make sure the learning tools align with the 4 components mentioned. So make sure that your learning tools, and what I mean with that is make sure that the educational technology that you use is the right technology for the students to be able to do the task. So if they have to submit an essay, you use the assignment Dropbox. You don't use a discussion forum for that, for example. If they do a reflection, you have to use the journal tool for that, because you don't want other students to see that. Just make sure that the right tools are used. I'm not going to, just for time's sake, I'm not going to let us talk about that now. Something that I'll share with you tomorrow as well, and on Friday, is ADDIE. So when you Google instructional design models, there are many different ones that are out there, but it all kind of comes down to the same process that you follow. When you do a course design, Vuyo, when you're going to start with planning your course for the next semester, first of all, you're going to analyze. And the analysis phase is, what will be the goals? What will be the outcomes? Then you look at, who are my students? What year group are they? They first year, second years? Are they postgrad students? Are they full-time students, or are they part-time students? Are they maybe working adults that work in the field that you are teaching them? Do a little bit of an analysis of what is it who are your students, and what is it that you want to achieve. Then you go to the next phase. Then you say, okay, so I know who my students are. I know exactly what is it that we want to achieve. Now on paper, I map out my module. So before you even get to the part where you build anything online, or you create those videos, or you create the assessments, that's the development phase. First, you have to plan out, map out your course. So many units, these are the topics for the units, these are the materials that we need to cover, etc., etc. So we call it a module map, we call it storyboard, we call it a work schedule, a course plan. There are many different things that people call it. There are many online tools that you can use to do it. For me, best is just to use a pen and paper, map it out, or in a Word document. Some people use sticky notes that they put on their wall. So plan out the whole course and how everything will play out. Only thereafter, once the planning was done, you are done with conceptualizing the whole course. Then you go and you develop everything that needs to be developed, and you build it online on the LMS. And this is also something that I want to suggest when you do your final assessment for this course. Because your final assessment, it will be a course that we look at. We're going to look at a course that you build in your, what's that word now, in your sandbox. So before you do that course, before you build anything online, plan out your course and have that course map for you to work from, almost like a blueprint. Then you develop your course, then you implement it. But the implementation phase is where you actually teach your course to your students, and then you have your evaluation at the end. Tomorrow, what I'm going to share with you is we do small little evaluations throughout all of these processes, but these are just informal evaluations to make sure that what you are going to do and what you are planning will actually work. All right. But I promise I know it's overwhelming at the moment, but we will do it practically. And as you do it practically, it will really fall into place. And this is what I was talking about, the storyboarding or the module mapping, where you look at your course and think about the structure, think about what will it look like online for your students, etc. This is an example of a storyboard template that you can use. Step 1, learning outcomes. Step 2, assessments. Step 3, your resources or your instructional materials. And step 4, learning activities that the students will do. Then storyboarding. This is also just an example of a storyboard that I use. I developed it for myself. So when I help a lecturer to develop an online course, then we map out the course using this template. So this was for a MOOC. The specific one was for a MOOC. But there are different things that you can add in here. And I try to, in a MOOC, we try to standardize it as much as possible, but in your course it will be different because there are certain assessments that you need to do. There might be group work, there might be other types of assessments that your students do, and there might be a portfolio at the end or something like that. So this is just an example of a storyboard. Okay, so before we get to the asynchronous activities, any comments or any questions at this stage from anyone?
Yeah, just a quick question. So we're going to be designing a course.
Yes.
Is it going to be like a little example of a course, or do you want us to actually design a course?
So what you're going to do, Jaco, you can actually use your course that you've got. And what we want you to do is you need to be able to use it afterwards. It shouldn't just be for the purposes of this course, or for this assessment. It has to be something that you can use afterwards. So I would take your module that you present at the moment, take that one and do that, or design that course for your final assessment. You will see that in the course itself, in the welcoming, and also I added it yesterday into your asynchronous activity for this afternoon as well. You will find the rubric in there. So the rubric tells you exactly what I'm going to be looking at when I assess that course. And it also gives you the instructions and everything. So please have a look at it. I'm glad that you asked that question. Please have a look at it. You are only going to start designing the course. You can start today already. You'll see it's part of your asynchronous activity today. But you are going to have 2 weeks to do it before it's due.
Okay.
Yeah. So you'll have time for it. And you'll also have time. You can ask me about it, and I mean, we can have a session or so if you want me to go into the course with you. But that is something that is required as the final assessment. Okay, so today's asynchronous activities, you'll get some information about your digital course that you have to design in your sandbox. You will see that you have a sandbox in your as part of your course list in DigiCanva. Then something that I want you to please go and look at this afternoon as part of your asynchronous activity is to look at quality matters. And remember, Vuyo, I told you that you will have almost like a checklist to help you. when you do a course design, the Quality Matters rubric is one of the checklists that I'm calling it checklist, but it's actually a framework that we will share with you tomorrow and discuss a little bit more tomorrow. But go and get familiar with it this afternoon. Look at what the rubric looks like. I promise you don't have to incorporate the whole rubric into your course immediately, but just have a look at it, and then also have a look at some of the people that has already incorporated some of these standards into their courses. It's basically the things that we've been talking about this week, but go and have a look at that this afternoon. There are some videos of people sharing what they've done. So I will share a little bit about that tomorrow, about evaluating courses. So we do that tomorrow before we do the course design on Friday. And it's really because we want to kind of have goals that we work towards when we design our courses. It's almost like we do with our students. We ask our students to or we show our students this is the outcome. So at the end of this course, you need to be able to do this and that. And that is exactly what we want to do by showing you course evaluation frameworks tomorrow, so that you have a goal that you work towards and have certain things that you know needs to be in your course before we look at course design on Friday. Okay, so the outcomes for this session was just to look to understand the importance of logical course structure and course templates, designing a learning path, and then developing a course development toolkit. So we've gone through all of them. What I'll do tomorrow is I'll show you a course that I created according to the Quality Matters rubric, and with that incorporates all the things that I've been talking about this week. Yeah, and for that is basically it for today. Any questions, comments for now? Except for the fact that you are very tired now.
No questions for me. I'm just thinking about the topic of the course outline that I'm supposed to create.
Yes.
No, I'm just gathering my thoughts. No comments. No questions.
Okay. Please send me emails if you have a question, or if at any stage you want to brainstorm your idea with me in Teams, we can really do that. I'm available for that.
I will definitely take you up on that offer.
Thank you. That's good. I remember one of the people that attended one of our courses she wasn't lecturing at that stage, and she didn't have any topic or anything that she could teach someone. And I remember she just chose a topic like I think it was about cake frosting, or how a course on on that. But in your case, all of you, Lisa, we can brainstorm ideas, but you can also look at some of the ideas of courses that you'd like to present in future, maybe in the department where you're a student assistant. But the rest of you have your courses that you can plan. Yeah, so tomorrow's session will start at 9 o'clock. So we'll have our normal synchronous time tomorrow. Everything will be back to normal. And you have the rest of the afternoon now to work on to look a little bit at Quality Matters and to start with your course design. And then we'll see each other tomorrow in our synchronous session again.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. See you tomorrow.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Please remember to share your infographics on the discussion.
Tot ziens.
Okay, bye. Bye, Jaco.
Toen is die ding af.